When players get mad, they do stupid things, resulting in them being punished. And recently, that's what happened with Andre Iguodala. Let's talk about it. The NBA fines Andre Iguodala for his behavior. Yep, the shorthanded Phoenix Suns spoiled Curry's return to action on the 10th of January. Naturally, this meant that the players on Golden State were fuming, but Iggy seemed to be particularly annoyed. So what even happened? Well, with 4 minutes 30 seconds left in the fourth quarter, Mikal Bridges grabbed the offensive board and scored an easy 2 points.
Washington's jumper doesn't go. Upstairs, Bridges, the follow is good.
Giving the Suns a 17-point lead. When Andre was heading to the baseline to inbound the ball, he tossed it into the stands. The refs gave him a tech and ejected him without any hesitation. Iguodala let them know that he thought their call was bogus, while Jordan Poole tried to reason with the officials to no avail. But that's not all. Following the game, the NBA also fined the forward $25,000 for directing inappropriate language toward game officials, as well as because of the incident involving the ball. As it was a home game for the Dubs, the fans in attendance were super annoyed and started the good old "refs you chant.
They're under a certain age. Things.
But did Iggy's actions really warrant this type of treatment? Well, most people think he didn't deserve it. You see, unlike in the past, the NBA and their refs are just super soft now. You can ask any fan, and they'll tell you that they hate this change with a vengeance because it just ruins the fun of the game. When Iggy was heading to the baseline, he literally just lost his balance, which caused him to almost run into the front row. And then it seemed more as if he lost the ball out of his hands rather than him throwing it into the crowd with evil intentions. Plus, the Dub Nation has nothing but love in their hearts for the one-time Finals MVP because he's been a huge part of the franchise for years.
We used to see these kind of highlights on a nightly basis with a younger Iguodala.
So even if Iggy did throw the ball into the stands on purpose, not a single Golden State fan will hold that against him. And even otherwise, there was nothing hostile about his actions. Sure, he might have said some things to the ref, but he was just complaining. Not to mention, everyone curses a little here and there when they're annoyed.
Oh, he threw Iguodala out of the game.
But did you guys know that this wasn't the first time something like this happened with Andre? Yep, something similar happened back in 2018 against the Blazers. When Golden State and the Portland Trail Blazers matched up toward the end of 2018, Iggy showed off his wild side. Even though the Warriors stopped the Blazers from scoring on their last possession of the half, Iggy was frustrated. Why? Because he lost his handle, meaning that he couldn't get a shot up at the last second. Once the buzzer sounded, he picked up the ball and launched it into the stands from half court, as if he had a vendetta against it. Unlike his actions against the Suns, this was definitely hostile as he threw the ball into the crowd with a lot of force.
So the Warriors had a 17-point advantage. The ball went into the crowd.
The officials handed Andre a tech and ejected him, though as usual, fans on social media took this as an opportunity to clown the refs because they felt it wasn't bad enough to be worthy of an ejection. All in all, the decision in this game, along with the fine handed to Iguodala following his behavior against the Suns, wasn't too bad.
Oh, he tossed the ball into the stands.
There it is.
And that is what got him tossed.
Okay.
That is, if you know about all the other shocking fines that NBA players have been handed. And starting things off is a former Golden State player, Latrell Sprewell. Spree was a solid player back in his day, but he was also quite the character.
It in with the left hand. Check this out. This is a nice two-guard move. There's the contact, there's the switch, and there's the layup. Chance for three.
And when he was playing for the New York Knicks, he made one of the worst decisions of his life when he decided to keep his fractured hand a secret. He showed up to training camp with the injury but failed to inform the organization. When the Knicks found out he tried to lie to them, they were enraged and fined him $250,000. That's the biggest fine an NBA team's ever placed on one of its players.
How hard would it be? You go to your right, and then when you get in the lane, you plant and you shoot it leaning with the left.
Also, keep in mind that this was in the early 2000s, so having to part ways with $250,000 just because you kept your injury a secret must suck big time. Though it's not only the players who get fined, as franchises can be handed one too. The San Antonio Spurs. The Spurs and the Miami Heat were two of the best teams in the league in the early 2010s, so everyone was pumped up for their matchup in the 2012 regular season.
Spots Ginobili trailing on the left side, and he plants another three-pointer. Manu with back-to-back threes.
There was just one problem. The Spurs head coach Greg Popovich decided to rest his big three of Tony Parker, Tim Duncan, and Manu Ginobili. And you know what that means. The game wasn't nearly as good as everyone hoped it would be. David Stern was fuming and didn't hesitate to slap the Spurs with a $250,000 fine. Stern said the decision was a disservice to the league and fans, which is fair. Though at the same time, fining an organization with that much money just because the coach rested the team's star players is just a bit too excessive in my opinion.
Single coverage by Sean Duncan, goes right to the rim and finishes 8 for 8 for Tim Duncan.
But still, this isn't as shocking as the fine the owner of the Mavs was hit with back in 2018, Mark Cuban. If an NBA team wants to tank, they better not publicly admit it. Just ask Mark. According to Sports Illustrated's Ben Golliver, the team fined Cuban a hefty sum of $600,000. But what exactly did he say? As per Scott Gleason of USA Today, when Cuban appeared on the House Call with Dr. J podcast, he spoke openly about telling his players that losing was their best option at the time. Tanking's super controversial, and that's why no one wants to admit it. But if a team's engaging in such tactics, the NBA clearly won't take it easy on them.
And close the second quarter out the way they did. They're going to be in control, 8 for 14 from the three-point line. Luka.
Well, it's unbelievable to be fined that much for some comments. This fine is not nearly as ridiculous as the next one. Vladimir Radmanovic. When the athlete played for the Lakers in 2007, the NBA slapped him with a hefty fine of $500,000.
Keep your dribble alive, and what happens? As our Carl's Jr. Exmo shows, Radmanovic to the rim and up, and yeah.
I know what you're thinking. That sums less than what Cuban was hit with. But when you find out why he was fined such an insane amount, you won't be able to believe it. So what did he do to face such wrath from the NBA? Well, the answer's snowboarding. You heard that right. Sure, the NBA has a rule that makes activities like snowboarding a no-go zone, but still, it's just unfair, especially since he never signed an insane contract during his playing days. Though no matter how ridiculous this fine was, it's nowhere close to the biggest fine in league history, which was received by an NBA franchise, the Minnesota Timberwolves. The NBA introduced the salary cap to ensure fairness in the league, but when the Timberwolves tried to work their way around this, the NBA came down really hard on them. You see, back in 2000, the NBA found out that Minnie was engaging in under-the-table deals with Joe Smith. They got Smith to agree to take less money at that moment, with the promise that they'd give him a multi-million-dollar deal in the future. This allowed the Timberwolves to acquire way more talented players. The NBA was furious, so Stern decided to go beast mode and hit the organization with a $3.5 million fine. Out of all the fines we talked about, which one do you think was the most shocking? Let us know in the comments. See you in the next one.